Hey, hi, hello, everybody. Welcome back. We've got some more lore reaction content for you today. This time, Resident Evil 2 and 3. Now, both games, fantastic. My first experiences with them were just a couple months ago. And so far, there's a lot going on in the Raccoon City event that I have not had answered for myself. And of course, you know who we have here, Gaming Harry himself, the man to explain it all to me in the best accent possible. So we're going to get into this lore reaction video, and we're going to learn more about the way Resident Evil 2 and 3, the Raccoon City incident, occurred. There's so many details that I'm looking forward to.
The outbreak and incident which occurred in Raccoon City is a key one within the Resident Evil franchise. An incident which, if you're looking at its origins, stretches all the way back through the games Resident Evil 0, Resident Evil 2.
That's what I don't know about. 0, Resident Evil. Now I know 2.
And even Resident Evil 5.
I need to learn about 0 and Resident Evil,
what
though.
happens in the lead up to this catastrophic event. You ready? Let's dive in.
I am ready.
You need to go all the way back to the Neolithic, which is basically a
I'm sorry, what?
during the Stone Age. A tribe known as the Ndipaya tribe from West Africa discovered a plant located in a cavern which contained
this is
RE5
RE5.
known as the progenitor virus. Exposure to this plant and its virus killed many people, but one man survived, mutated, and developed superhuman abilities.
Oh, that's RE5.
Eventually, the Ndipaya tribe would live under the rule of this mutated king, who lived for centuries.
Okay, we need to play Resident Evil 5
built
again.
An underground city in the cavern using reflective construction techniques to allow the sun to reach the city. Does this sound familiar?
Damn!
It's the city in which Chris Redfield and Sheva Alomar stumble across in the mission in West Africa in Resident Evil 5. Anyway,
Yeah, we need to play that game again. I know there's like little controversy and whatnot about it. I know most people can look past it and not worry about it too much, as long as you're not. It's intention. Intention is everything. But the last time I played Resident Evil 5, PlayStation 3, it was probably 15 years ago. I don't know. We got to get into that, though. We got to see what it's about.
1960s. Knowledge of this virus was discovered by a British explorer named Henry Travis during a 34-year
I actually don't know that name.
Africa. His findings
Was that Grug the caveman? No, that was a
James Marcus.
infected tribal man.
1966, Marcus,
It's quiet to me.
billionaire Oswald L. Spencer, and Dr. Brandon Bailey found the underground city and the plants and managed to isolate the virus. In February of 1967, Dr. James Marcus was ousted from the university in which he was conducting research, and all funding of his projects was stopped. Oswald Earl Spencer chose to fund further research and employed Dr. Marcus to work in a lab that he was planning to build. In March 1967, Umbrella Pharmaceuticals was birthed. Umbrella, being known as a pharma company, was a perfect cover for the shady operations.
That's some crazy eyes for that baby.
An Umbrella executive training school was also built, which housed an underground lab in which Dr. Marcus would continue his research. This training school would recruit child prodigies with promising grades and brainwash and indoctrinate them in order for them to advance Umbrella's
brainwashing
research.
children. Sick.
Development of the virus within
Sounds
the lab
like America.
setting proved difficult, however,
Heyo.
as the Sontrape flower in which the virus was located grew under specific conditions only produced by the caverns in West Africa. To combat this, the following year, a lab was set up in the caverns to get samples of the virus and transport those samples to other labs across the world, allowing for further testing. This gave birth to the T-Virus project. A breakthrough was found in 1977 when Dr. Marcus altered the T-Virus with leaked genes. However, in 1978, the university was shut down by L. Spencer.
Is that why they're really sluggish looking? Like all their transformations, like their mouth opening and stuff like that, are like really sluggish and they're like slimy, gooey? I wonder if that's the case.
And two of Dr. Marcus's star pupils stole his research under the orders of L. Spencer.
Those
The names of
bastards.
these two pupils may be familiar. Albert
Wesker.
Wesker
Oh,
and
I knew
William
it.
Birkin. These two were given senior research roles at the
Oh my God,
Mansion
it's all
Lab
coming full
as a
circle.
reward for their roles in stealing the research.
I'm learning so much.
Birkin and Wesker continued their work and combined the virus with genes from the Ebola virus. The purpose for this was that they would reduce the rate of mortality of the virus. Over the next few years, the virus was manipulated in order to create mutants whose brains would be able to take commands. The Arklay lab was able to make a breakthrough with a strain of virus called the Epsilon strain, which allowed for mutations in human beings which were beneficial for creating genes such as increased strength.
I had the question earlier, and maybe somebody who might watch us in the future, somebody in the YouTube comments, please, dearly, kindly, explain to me, does the T-Virus or any of these viruses, do they change based off of the willpower of whoever gets infected with them? Because like you look at a lot of the main people and they have control and they have whatever over simple viruses that affect other people differently, that lose complete control. I don't know if that makes sense the way I'm trying to word it, but I feel like the more like adamant they are about wanting to be strong and being upset and willpower rather than just being a scared civilian, like they become a stronger virus, if that makes sense.
This also had a negative effect.
I don't know if that's been proven in lore or something. I'm curious. Have you guys watched OBX? I have no idea what that is.
Oswald Spencer realized that Dr. Marcus was planning to continue his research to present to the Umbrella board, which he hoped would culminate in him taking
Put some clothes on, bro. Jesus.
Spencer ordered him eliminated, and a team of Umbrella security forces took him out. Dr. Wesker and Dr. Birkin accompanied them and gathered any data which could be used for their own research projects.
Wesker's so
Marcus's
badass.
body and his leeches were dumped into the river, which caused the leeches to enter Marcus's body and fuse with his DNA, also absorbing his brain cells to inherit his memories.
Oh.
This created an entity, also known as Queen Leech, which would go on to avenge Marcus's death years later by going on a spree in 1998. Revenge against Umbrella was its primary motive. What game is this from? This spree started at the Arclay laboratories, where the lab staff would be contaminated and release Cerberus dogs from their cages. This, as a result, gave rise to animal attacks in the Arclay Mountains and also zombie attacks too.
It's some Mugen trained demon slayer shit.
The public and a tactical unit called STARS were called in to investigate. The STARS Bravo team is attacked and their chopper goes down. A STARS member called Rebecca Chambers stumbles across a train which was attacked by Marcus's leeches. Zombies inhabit the train. Rebecca teams up with a man named Billy Cohen. The train ends up at the school used by Umbrella in the 1970s.
Is this Resident Evil 0?
Birkin ends up destroying the school using its self-destruct feature in order to destroy any evidence of what
Resident Evil Village? We play that next weekend.
Rebecca and Billy make it out alive. In the events that follow, Alpha Team, comprising of Jill Valentine, Chris Redfield,
Jill, let's go!
Wesker, are sent in to discover what happened to Bravo Team. Ambushed by Cerberus dogs, the Alpha Team is chased and forced to retreat to a nearby mansion. This is the mansion which Oswald L. Spencer had built in the late 1960s. Jill and Barry make it to the secret underground lab and come across Wesker, who reveals that Umbrella's intention was to eliminate STARS by Wesker luring them to the mansion, and the STARS team members would be used as test subjects. Wesker mentions that he's going to destroy the lab and the mansion to cover everything up. He also mentions that the real reason he is there is to retrieve bioweapons research. Combat data. Umbrella wanted to see how well their new BOWs behaved in combat.
This has to be Resident Evil 0.
Wesker reveals that he was going to betray Umbrella and sell the data to a rival. Wesker's plan was to dispose of the STARS members, so he unleashes a new variant called the Tyrant, who attacks Wesker. He kills him. However, Wesker injected himself with a mutant T-virus strain beforehand, wakes up, and escapes, faking his own death. But that's for another video. The Tyrant is eventually defeated, and Brad Vickers picks up the remaining...
I guess jumping into this video and not knowing the origins of Resident Evil in general was going to be a big of a shell shocker for me. But I'm learning a lot, and that's a good thing. I do need to go back and play these games apparently though, or maybe I just wait for remakes. Who knows? Raccoon City.
To the RPD, the STARS members Jill, Chris, Brad, Barry, and of course Rebecca Chambers demanded a full investigation into the activities of Umbrella.
Rebecca Chambers
was rejected by Brian Irons, the chief of police in Raccoon City.
Punch that guy.
It turns out that Umbrella had managed to bribe Chief Irons years earlier into keeping any investigations away from Umbrella's activities, leading to him disbanding STARS, and he ordered the RPD to investigate Umbrella.
I'm ruining that guy.
Irons hid behind the fact that STARS had lost too many officers, so couldn't function in its duties. Chris Redfield reported Irons to the FBI on suspicions of corruption, and they themselves began an investigation into corruption in the RPD. Due to the lack of willingness from Irons to get...
That was what the prison guy was talking about, right? The guy that's in Resident Evil 2, Leon is not letting him out of the prison cell, and then he gets his head destroyed by Mr. X. Spoilers, obviously. We're watching more videos, but I think that was what he was talking about.
Try and find information on Umbrella's apparent new G virus in the Nest facility in Raccoon City. And Chris went to Europe to investigate Umbrella, pretending that he was going on holiday. Jill's investigation was halted when Irons suspended her and put her under home lockdown, with her apartment under surveillance. 2 months after the incident at the mansion, this is where it all kicks off. So strap yourselves in.
I'm strapped in.
Remember William Birkin, Wesker's sidekick and the child prodigy trained by Umbrella? Whilst Wesker was luring the STARS members to the mansion back in July, Birkin was planning to betray Umbrella too, but his plan was to be embedded within the company and betray them from the inside. He was at the Nest facility, continuing his work on the T-virus alongside his wife Annette.
Him and his wife. Yep. That rotten bitch.
Which he planned to sell to the US government in exchange for the US government to give him and his family asylum. In September 1998, Birkin initiated the last stage of his plan by dumping failed T-virus test subjects into a facility designed for the processing of contaminated waste. He then purposely flooded it, rendering it useless. The staff in the facility had been given antiviral medication to help them fight infection, but the virus was able to mutate and infect the staff. As a result,
Rough.
the T-virus made its way around Raccoon City at an alarming rate and reached the water treatment plant, causing the hospital to be overwhelmed with people suffering
That's
from
how it
a
happened?
cannibal disease.
Why did I think it was like...
Birkin's actions put in
My first legitimate thought was that it was like Wesker or whoever using like bombs to like... I don't know how I thought. I don't know how I thought
under
it was
suspicion
happening.
from Umbrella.
I guess it only
Who
takes a
feared that
couple
the
that it
G-virus
multiplies pretty
wouldn't be
quick.
handed over to them on completion.
I'm playing more Last
The
of Us.
G-virus was eventually completed, and as per Birkin's plan, the US military sent out a team to meet with Birkin and retrieve the virus. However, Umbrella's reach was far and wide, and they had molds within the US military,
Oh.
and Umbrella sent a team of USS Umbrella Security Service soldiers out to contain the virus before the US military could
I was
get
gonna
it.
say, I don't remember them trying to
Birkin
save
was
him.
confronted but shot by a USS officer,
Damn.
and the team retrieved the T and G virus samples. With
But
Birkin
it's
laying
not
there
over
close to death,
yet.
he injected himself with the G virus sample that the team overlooked. He did
Hard.
this with the intent to make himself stronger. However, the virus did not stabilize in his body, and he instead turned into a mutant. He hunted the USS team through the labs and sewers and killed them all. The briefcase containing the virus sample was destroyed, and the vials inside were also destroyed.
Beast.
Rats drank the samples and escaped into the sewers, which made an already fragile situation even worse.
Oh.
The rats left the sewers and ended up in the city and in the city reservoir. At this point, Umbrella were made aware of the issue and alerted Mayor Michael Warren, who fled the city, and Chief Irons, who did his best to sabotage RPD operations by sealing off escape routes and clearing out
I will
weapons
uppercut
lockers.
that guy
The
too.
rate of infection in Raccoon City spiraled out of control, and tens of thousands of people were being infected. The city became more and more violent. The Pentagon, in an attempt to cover up the outbreak, told the media that they were investigating radioactivity in Raccoon City. Civilians were evacuated by chopper from the city zoo to be transported to a quarantine zone, checking for signs of infection. One of these choppers crashed and civilians turned into zombies. The National Guard was brought in to assist with the evacuation, as well as the US Army. They set up roadblocks to ensure no one could escape the city without
Are we just
being
learning about lore or
transported to
what?
the
Yeah, I start
quarantine.
every stream
The
now
hospital
with
stopped
some
functioning
lore
due to crowds
to
of people
watch.
being admitted, and the doctors and nurses being
We've been starting every stream now with some lore to watch because I need to learn more about these games because I do enjoy learning about them, but I just play so fast through them and I don't bother to read all the documents, nor do I find all of them. So I want to know more about the games that I'm playing and beating. And 2 and 3 we just finished recently, so I wanted to learn more before I forget everything.
infected and turning into zombies themselves.
So here we are, Raccoon Hospital.
8:07 p.m, 28th of September 1998. With Jill Valentine still at her apartment thinking she's under lockdown, she receives a call from Brad Vickers stating that she has to leave. As she's about to grab her things, a bioweapon called Nemesis bursts through the wall.
Good old
carrying the
Nemi.
word "Stars."
Good old
Jill
Nemi.
escapes.
Love
Brad
that guy.
reveals to her that it only seems to be interested in hunting him and her. Upon escaping, Brad is bitten and infected by assisting Jill in running away from a group of zombies. Jill again is pursued by Nemesis and meets up with the UBCS, which is Umbrella Biohazard Counterterrorism
Good old
Service.
Carlos.
From a
Love that guy.
conversation with a soldier named
his
Carlos,
long,
it's
luscious
clear
hair.
that this squad of mercenaries have no clue what Umbrella really has sent them there for the combat data, to test the BOW's effectiveness against the UBCS. This data was observed and recorded by a person called a monitor. Now, the monitor responsible for assembling and collecting this data was a UBCS soldier named Nikolai Zinoviev.
Oh, I'll punch
Found
that
out
guy
an
too.
entire platoon of UBCS soldiers was decimated by zombies after they were locked in a room by Nikolai. Jill reluctantly agrees to help them get the power on so they can transport survivors out of the city via train to a clock tower on the edge of town. After getting the train running, Nemesis shows up, killing all the survivors, and Nikolai locks Jill and the platoon leader Mikhail Victor in their carriage with Nemesis. Mikhail sacrifices himself by detonating an explosive, but the train derails.
That's some
and
gangster
he's
shit right there.
unconscious.
What a beast. What a
During
freaking
this
hunk
time,
of a man.
Carlos and another UBCS soldier, Tyrell, arrives at the RPD to evacuate a doctor who worked at the hospital, but he was also a scientist working for Umbrella at Nest named Nathaniel Bard, whose research for a vaccine could save Raccoon City. But Dr. Bard isn't there, he's still at the hospital, and on a video call orders the two soldiers to come get him. Carlos makes his way to the hospital but receives a call from Jill, who tells him what happened. Jill fights with Nemesis again, but Nemesis infects Jill, making her pass out. At this point, a man by the name of Leon Kennedy arrives in
The
Raccoon
second
City. He was
transformation
due to start his job
was
at the RPD
insane.
as a rookie officer, but was warned to stay away. Curious and eager to help, he arrives at a petrol station to find an officer being attacked by a zombie. After barely escaping, he ends up meeting Claire Redfield, sister of Chris Redfield, who is going to Raccoon City looking for her brother, and they both make their way to the city.
W duo. W. Doesn't get better than them.
After a crash and an explosion, Leon and Claire are separated, and Leon makes his way to the RPD where he meets the severely injured Marvin Branner. Branner tells him there's an underground escape route through a secret passageway behind a statue. There are a couple of cool crossovers at
Leon
this
looks
point,
so young
as
there.
We get to witness a zombified Brad Vickers bite Marvin Branner, explaining his injuries, and how the two officers died in the hallway.
That's so sad because he only got bit trying to save Jill, and then he ends up turning and biting the... Oh, it's so sad. The sequence of events is depressing.
But later on in the story, Leon encounters a mysterious woman named Ada Wong who claims she is FBI.
What's up, baby girl?
Information about what's going on and then disappears. But he then meets a man in the cells
underneath
the RPD called Ben Bertolucci, who tells him he has proof on a voice recorder about Chief Irons being bribed.
Yeah, okay, it was Chief Irons. I figured that was the case.
Ada mentions there's a vial of the G virus in the Nest facility, but they need to get to the sewers to reach it. After fighting Birkin at various stages of his mutation, Leon gets the G virus sample.
Birkin's still, I think, my favorite transformation so far. Between all, like, he's got the coolest one. It's so sick.
Making his way back to Ada, she pulls a gun on him and demands he hand over the virus sample. But Wong is shot by Annette Birkin and falls to her death with the sample being destroyed too. And spoiler alert, Ada survives.
Yeah, we know.
As a result of the virus being removed, the Nest facility initiates a self-destruct sequence. Leon meets with Claire and the Birkin's daughter Sherry. Again, this is another story arc that I won't go into in this video. And they board a train, escaping Nest, but not before fighting a final battle with a mutated G. After defeating the mutated G,
look how
Leon
freaking happy they are
away from Raccoon City.
That's beautiful.
Shortly after this event,
that's beautiful.
Carlos finds Jill still unconscious and infected by Nemesis.
Wait. They got out safe while these guys were still fighting for their lives? That's crazy.
Which conveniently happens to be right
That's kind of funny. I don't know why.
He needs to find Dr. Bard as per his mission, and also to get a vaccine from Dr. Bard to save Jill. He makes it to Dr. Bard, but he's been executed by, guess who? Yep, Nikolai. Carlos finds a note from a US senator inviting Bard to a meeting to discuss the time the outbreak first started, to discuss the quarantining process. This was to discuss the setup of a special medical zone. Also found on the computer is info which states that Bard, upon hearing of the contamination of the water supply, ordered mass production of the vaccine. To do this, Bard needed more test subjects. In the hospital, Carlos finds notes from staff mentioning that they've seen patients being taken to a secret part of the hospital, which explains where Bard was getting his test subjects from. Bard also tried to secure his evacuation by telling the US senator mentioned earlier that he has saved a vaccine for him, but this obviously didn't work, hence why he contacted the RPD and spoke to Carlos and Tyrell. Carlos gets the vaccine and gives it to Jill. Tyrell arrives wounded and turns on the TV, which states that the outbreak is uncontainable, and on the 1st of October, Raccoon City will be destroyed by a missile strike. Jill, upon waking up at midnight on the 1st of October, learns of the missile strike that's happening in a few hours. Tyrell informs Jill that Carlos has gone underground, as Bard has stockpiled the vaccine. Jill makes it to the underground facility and creates a vaccine, but after encountering Nemesis again, the vaccine is dropped and stolen by Nikolai, who confirms that he's selling the data to Umbrella. Jill again has to battle Nemesis, and Carlos goes over the vaccine and Nikolai. After catching up with him, Carlos has been incapacitated by Nikolai, who destroys the vaccine in front of Jill. He reveals that he isn't working solely for Umbrella, that there's a second client who has ordered him to reduce Umbrella to rubble. Jill shoots Nikolai and demands to know who Nikolai is working for, but he refuses to tell her unless they take him with them. Jill refuses and says she'll find out on her own. Carlos and Jill escape Raccoon City in a helicopter, leaving Nikolai on the roof. As they escape, they witness the missile impact which destroys the entire city.
I wish zombies got him.
And that's it for this one. Over the years, Umbrella would be involved in more atrocities over the world. More shady rivals would emerge in trying to create their own BOWs. Like I said, it's a story which stretches way back to the Neolithic period with the Endipaya tribe. But that's it for this one. If you did enjoy this video, please be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment down below on which games you think I should cover in the future. But for now, take care and I'll see you in the next one.
See, that's interesting to me. So the last time, I would say when I started playing Resident Evil games, lore or storytelling didn't matter as much to me as it does now. Although now in my gameplays, I'm still not quite paying attention to it, I do want to know it, which is why we're here, watching RE2 and 3 story explained. But back then when I played Resident Evil 5, I definitely had no idea there was a connection between any of it other than Chris Redfield and Wesker. That was the only thing I knew. Hey, there's zombies, there's Chris Redfield, and there's Wesker. I guess 3 things total. And so I did not know that the origination of like where this all came from. Like the flowers, I do remember seeing that trove of flowers, that garden of chaos is what it is. I do remember seeing that, but I didn't know that that's what it's for. That's what started this. That's what started this all. It's crazy. So I think not only did this video help me connect the dots between 2, 3, and 5, of course, it also made me realize two things. One is I need to play Resident Evil 0, or is it Resident Evil? There's whatever one titles those are, I need to figure those out as well. That's kind of important. And then I do think I need to play Resident Evil 5. Maybe after Village, we'll go back and finish 5, because I think Village is also separate. Village follows Biohazard, and 5 follows 3 a little bit better. I'm not quite sure the details on all this stuff. If anybody wants to leave a comment and let me know, I appreciate all the help as much as I can get. So this is for lore. Damn right it's for lore. That's why it's called Story Explained. So we learned a lot. We are now going to be looking forward to a lot more Resident Evil content, I think, as well. On top of the replays that we want to do, there's just so much of the Resident Evil world that I need to know about. So that's it for now, guys. Thank you guys for hanging out, vibing, chilling, all that fun stuff. Please consider leaving a like and comment and subscribe if you haven't already. I appreciate it. Mucho love, my friends. Peace.